video here, Nate. So
yes, sir.
We're on the back side, and I know it's going to be noisy, and with this, we're in a flight with Gator. What is it? Can-Am. So we're on the back side of Mount Blessing, and we're looking over toward towns.
This is Rackborain here, actually ancient Ophrah, the place where Gideon's from.
Oh, okay.
That's believed to be that hilltop there.
Okay.
Shechem is just over this hill right here.
Yeah. So if we go back, and I'll be showing modern day Nablus, Shechem. Now you were talking to me about the illegal building that's going on over here.
Yeah.
And they're actually, after October 7th, they're starting to crack down on that.
Correct. Yeah, so since October 7th, even stuff like this, though, the illegal building's been going on, and they're taking over huge amounts of land over here. The Arabs, the jihadists. I don't like to call them Arabs, I like to call them jihadists.
The jihadists,
The jihadists, because that's really what it's happening here.
The terrorists.
Terrorists that are trying to take over, fighting against God and the plan of God. That's what they're fighting against. So they're trying to take over this land. Since October 7th, finally Israel's starting to wake up to that fact and is actually stopping this land takeover and allowing the other side, Israel, to claim land like this right here. This road we're driving on, we cut this in last summer to be able to claim all of this land that was being held by jihadis, terrorists. We're holding this land right here that we're driving on all the way up to the community there. They were regularly coming up from this village right here. This is ancient Ophrah, Rackborain. They would come up, burn tires, riot, whatever, rip up vineyards, that kind of stuff, which now the military can come to this point to stop the Arab jihad. And actually just yesterday, I was out here, there was an Arab shepherd sitting right here on the other side of this road, and the military can now access this point. Before, the Arab shepherd would have been sitting right up top where the vineyards are. We just drove by.
Can you tell me go ahead now.
Now, this is the point that's being pushed back. Now they can only come to here because we cut this road in. Before that, they were coming all the way up to the...
So a number of years ago, you and I were actually involved in putting out a couple of fires.
That's right.
And that was on up here. So just the fact that they're coming to this point now and moving on, because up until October 7th, it was really encroaching was happening from the Arabs, the terrorists. 100%. They were coming this way, and now the pushback is on the other way.
For sure.
And you guys are being allowed to do stuff now that we never even imagined
100%.
we would be able to do.
Yeah.
So I'm looking up on the top of the hill there, where I guess we're heading that way.
Yep.
The top of the hill there is where I was at, just the Hayabel base. Those that may have been here many years ago, just to the right of that communication tower, there's a outpost, and then the ridge house is down below that. So this is all, we're looking up at the vineyards. That can you have imagined? You guys got started in 2004, right?
That's right. Oh, it's crazy.
Could you have imagined what you would be into now?
No way. No, and it's it's like pinching yourself. Like what in the world is actually going on here? Like I tell people this all the time. They're like, this is the first time in 2,000 years that this land that we're driving on right now has actually become under Jewish ownership. Jewish sovereignty. Really, this is the first time. You can see this road right here. We just cut it. This is literally done. Like gazelles here too.
Let me see if I can get a little bit of a. There they go.
Wow.
Okay.
So this road you can see cut through the valley right here. We just put this in last week.
Wow.
That you can see all the way out to that point there.
Okay.
We'll drive on it here in just a second.
Okay.
But this valley right here was all Arab control before October 7th. They were farming this valley. And since October 7th, we pushed this boundary out down to that valley right there to where it's now Israeli control.
Okay, let's tie this together. Here we are on Har Brakah. You're taking over the land. On the Har Habayit, the Temple Mount, Jews are going up and praying, and are prostrating themselves in prayer on the Temple Mount.
Which you were up there with me in, what was that, 2000, whatever
11 or 12?
11, 12, 13, whatever. And we were basically dragged off. We've been pushed off, dragged off, spit up a hit, whatever.
Well, anytime you're hanging out with Wallers, you're going to get dragged out of somewhere.
But no, that's things are changing.
So now, you know, the news is all about the war and what, and all the negative stuff that's going on, and yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But here, this is the other side of that. That's what's going on, Nate.
You know, there is obviously the war is tough. You know, there's a lot of I have friends, I know people, whatever, that have lost their lives.
Yeah.
It's tough, but at the same time, we're seeing major move forward in the redemption.
Wow.
We're seeing a massive launch forward in expansions of the borders of Israel, the spiritual dynamic, the spiritual awakening that's happening in Israel. We're seeing a huge change in that, just across the country. It's a different country today than it was a year and a half ago.
That's great. Well, hey, we got some tracks to make, right?
That's right.
All right, let's go. All right, back from my ride on the Can-Am, and we're going to head out into the vineyard here. This is, again, Harbor Ka, the Meta Blessing. And these vines have all been pruned within the last months. And very soon, they will sprout forth their branches. Let's see what, okay, already, here we go. Let's see if I can get the focus on that. These are the camera's having a little bit of a difficult time there. These are the vines that will become the 2025 vintage of wine from the Meta Blessing. When you're out here and you're pruning this, as I have years ago, you really feel like you're taking it all the way down. These vines are all the way up over the wires up here. This is what's holding them up, and you're pruning them back to the point that you really believe that you are harming them, even killing the vines. But that's what it takes to have the exact amount of leaves on the branches so that there's airflow, and but there's also shade for the grapes. So it's an amazing thing to be out here. You read scripture, totally different, and this is what's happening right here in front of our eyes. Now, as with the place that I was in at the horse ranch with Ruti and Kaim, that was just barren ground just 4 years ago. This back 27 years ago was just rock. It looks like, well, it's hard to find rock, just regular rock areas now, because so much of it, probably the best is right across there. That's what it looked like. But near Yaakov, Erez, others, they looked at the scripture and it says you're to plant vineyards on the hills of Samaria, on the hills of Ephraim. And so they consulted with the government. I can bring this back. They consulted with the scientists, the agricultural scientists of the day, and they said, no, you can't you can't grow vines there. The climate is wrong. Everything's wrong. Well, they trusted the scripture over science, and thankfully they did, because in that they said, no, the scripture tells us that we are to come and we are to plant vineyards. Well, come to find out, there's a microclimate here that is just perfect for vines. The rocks that you see everywhere, the vines, actually the roots wrap themselves around these rocks, which have specific minerals, which is good for the vines. And so what we're told is that these vines are going to last much longer than vines grow in other places, because of the perfect place to plant a vine is here on the hills of Samaria. Israel now, years ago, no one drank wine from Israel because it was so bad. It was just subpar. And now Israel is winning awards all over the world with their wines. So this is just one small vineyard on the hills on Harbor Ka, the Meta Blessing. But for me, I'm heading over to Itamar. See you there. It's been another full day standing in a place I've never been before. Seems like in all these trips to Israel, Israel's a small nation that should be easy to see everything, but no, not here. So much has happened in this place. Across, you'll see the Jordan River. Well, you don't see the Jordan River, but that's the Jordan River Valley. The Jordan on the other side. Where I'm standing is Mount Gilboa, a place of history, a place of tragedy. The story, the account of King Saul and Jonathan. I was just in Beit Shean, another place of history regarding this, of when Saul's head was placed upon the city walls. David and Jonathan, a special relationship, a covenant relationship between these two men. A relationship that began after David would slay Goliath. As David was standing in the presence of Saul, Jonathan, it says in the book of Samuel, Jonathan's heart was knit to David, and they began a covenant, cutting of a covenant there between the two of them. A covenant, basically, part of the covenant was that all I have is yours. On this mountain, all that Jonathan had, which was the kingdom, would be given to David. Of course, the account is that David had already been anointed by Samuel, but here is where Jonathan's life ended, and David would begin right after that, the taking over of the kingdom. In front of me is an iris that is indigenous to this little tiny area, the Gilboa iris. It only blooms for a very short amount of time, and I just happened to be here during that short amount of time. We're kind of the end of the season of that bloom. But this is a beautifully forested area here. The history, what went on in this place, it's a sad place, because this is where it said of David that he wept. He tore his coat and he wept because his covenant friend died here on this mountain. We're going to spend a little time here. I'm with my good friends Moshe and Leah Goldsmith, and we're going to go over actually to the side, and we're going to read the story of David and Jonathan and Saul together. Then head back to Harbor Ka for the evening. Until then.